I'm very mixed emotions with the conclusion of episode 9 of Magical Revolution. It's like, it didn't go as dark as it could have with, maybe taking out the prince, or didn't go as happy-go-lucky as it could have with them just hugging it out and everybody's happy and the prince goes to be the king and everything. Kind of in the middle area there where things aren't really good, but at the same time, it didn't go terribly. But I think the sticking point really from this episode that I got the most of is just how much it feels like things are really different. Like, what happened is not just, okay, wrap up, because it does feel like a wrap of an arc. But not really in the regards that everything, there's a big, massive wound. Like, there is a big, massive wound here that is, I think, going to really shape things going forward. I think this is going to change Anisfia a lot. It sort of makes me believe that this could be a big turning point for her to mature quite a bit. I'm getting all over the place, and I'm sorry, but it's just how this is making me feel. The way that I feel this episode plays out, and again, another tribute to the writing, is it really feels like everybody is affected by this in a different way, and everybody views the situation in a different way. Everybody blames themselves. At the same time, I think that's going to transition going forward as that blame shapes how the narrative goes forward. In a sense, what happened here, and I'm a little bit frustrated by the vagueness here. What essentially has happened here is that Algard and Anisfia were great siblings when they were young. More so in the idea that Anisfia really did care for Algard, and Algard seems to really care for Anisfia. But there was a shift happening here. There was a something that wasn't letting them be what they wanted to be. Anisfia started getting into experimenting and stuff, and she kept trying to drag Algard out to do her experiments. A big explosion happened one time, and he got in trouble for it, and she doesn't seem to care like he does. He got in trouble, and it really hurt him because his father is really mad, but she doesn't care. Let's go to the next one. Let's go to the next one. He's like, you don't seem to care. And yet still, her positive nature pulls him in again. And he still goes with her once again. But the problem that came from all of this is that eventually, one day, they experienced a monster. The monster attacked them. She let him flee while she stayed behind. And she still came back to get him afterwards, which makes you wonder how she killed the thing. Even back then, she had some sort of magical tool that she was using. Even back then, she was this great marauder. But when they got back to the kingdom, that's when everything shifted. And I think this is where the big split happened, and I think this is where we're going with his character, Algar. Because, again, it's not too clear, in my opinion. And I think this is one of those things where I'll probably get a better perspective of it once I read the light novel, which I'm really, really sold on at this point. It seems like here was the shift, because Anisfia seen that people were talking about her trying to get Algar killed because she was jealous and she wanted the throne. So she chose to give up the throne. This was the reason why she gave it up to begin with. She didn't want to see herself and her brother be stuck in a power struggle. And it frustrated her enough that she stepped away from it. I don't want to be a part of this. This is bad. In a child's mind, it's simply, this is bad. Nothing is going to be good at this. I don't want to be seen as a bad guy of my brother. So she distanced herself, gave up the throne, and this frustrated him. From this point, it seems like he got in his head that she was pitying him and giving it up to him and didn't want to have anything to do with it and giving her responsibility because, again, she never seems to care about the bigger picture in his eyes. Like earlier, experiment goes wrong, dad gets mad, she's like, let's do it again. She doesn't see what he sees, responsibilities and the structure of this group. And so he grew to not like her because of that. But I think what sort of started building from this point onward, and I think there's a little bit of a sprinkle of what we've established before. What we've established before is that he doesn't like the political systems and everything. That was the whole reason why he was talking about commoners and nobles and magic and stuff like that. This was where it was important. Because this was all triggered by Anisfia in the beginning. And he never liked the system itself. He also seen, from his perspective, that this all was the fault of the system as well. Even though he did have some sort of issue with Anisfia, her lack of caring about the system, and walking away and leaving it all upon him. It wasn't the whole picture, though. And what sort of built from this was, yes, eventually going to the point where he didn't like everything. He hated everything. And that's what he kind of tells his father. And I don't know how much of that is true. I think he was really trying to push away his father and stating that he hated everything. That's not true. It's obviously not true. He still cares for his sister. He still cares for others around him. He's apologetic to those that he hurt in the end. So he doesn't hate everything. But I think it's a really good example that he is filled with anger. And that's really what it kind of comes down to. And I like that eventually what we get, I don't like it. It's heartbreaking, but I like it as a proposed idea here, is eventually we see towards the end when Anisfia and Algard separate at the very end, she blames herself. She believes she created him. She pushed him away, and she created his anger for everything. And again, like I said, I think that's going to be something that we'll play into later. I'll be curious if we'll get Algard coming back eventually. He is going to go to the border. He is going to be working until he turns to dust, but he is still technically immortal. They didn't take the Magicite back out. They rebuilt it inside of Laney. So there's 2 of them here. We have 2 vampires now. So he's not going anywhere for a long time. So I do believe that eventually he could come back. And I hope when he does come back, he's stronger, he's more built, and he's more matured, and he's going to come back to help Anisfia. Like, things are going to go downhill at some point, and he's going to realize, I got to go. And he's going to run back, he's going to escape, and he's going to come back, and he's going to help Anisfia. Finally have his redemption. I like that we don't have to have his redemption arc now. It doesn't have to be all... I think we got a little bit of a feel that the 2 of them love each other still. And that's enough for now. But I do eventually think that he's going to have his redemption arc. His true redemption arc. Not just with words saying, I'm sorry. He's going to come back and he's going to fix things at some point. Because yes, I do believe, I agree with him, the future of this kingdom is very unknown. And it is a lot to do with the structures in play, the nobles in play. It's not just the Chartreuse. They're dead, apparently now. We don't get the satisfaction of seeing them die, but they're gone. But they're not the only ones. They're not the only ones in that picture. We now, granted, not all of them are like conspirators and stuff like that. But there's a lot of people in that room when she went to that council that didn't like what Anisfia is doing, and they're going to cause problems. Anisfia hasn't gotten rid of all the rats in the cage. But yeah, the buildup of that frustration during the fight itself was really well done. I mean, again, it's not as clear as I would hoped it would have been, because I was really expecting when this fight broke out, we're going to have them clashing swords and claws and everything, and eventually you're going to have the truth kind of spoken out. And really all we got was mostly Algard being frustrated with Anisfia not accepting that what she's doing is going nowhere. You're doing this despite the fact that you're being seen as a heretic. And again, it's that sign that he himself hates the system because it doesn't accept his sister. What do you hope to accomplish doing this? Oh, I just like magic. No, you're doing that stupid word salad again. You're lying to yourself again. You're loving something that will betray you. And again, I almost felt like for a while there, and it was in the last episode as well, you had this sense that Algar didn't like the system itself, but a lot of that had to do with the disparity between those that had magic and didn't. Again, Anisfia. He's talking about Anisfia every single time. He doesn't like that they won't accept her. And he hates the fact that she's trying after something so much that is rejecting her. And he still believes in the end that he's not worthy. She is. She's the one that should be queen. But he knows that there's people in the kingdom itself that still will not let her have it. Again, in the end, it's still Anisfia. And again, like, I hate how vague it is, but still, it is sort of implying it. It's implying it enough that it's there, just not outright saying it. He wants to destroy the system and rebuild it because it won't accept his sister. It's a system built around not accepting her. Again, everything we talked about before with commoners and magic and the disparity between those two, it's all about his sister in the end. He loved his sister in the end. He just is too damn tsundere to say it. And the reverse is also in a play, and what really, really sucks is that he just kind of wishes at that point that he was never born. He was never worthy to have the throne. He was never as good as her. There's still a little bit of envy in there, in the idea that he wishes he was as great as Anisfia. He never could stand up to her. And again, that goes back to everything that he's been hearing his entire life, that everybody wanted her to have the throne, and that he was just the second choice. But they still wanted Anisfia. They They said over and over again, why couldn't she have magic? She would have been perfect. Well, they still could have had her be it. Like, even if she doesn't have magic, they still want her. That's so damaging to him. So there's that wishy-washy aspect of, they won't accept my sister, they won't accept me, she doesn't have magic, she wants magic, the magic's the problem, he is in just this nasty state. Again, destroy it all, start over. He sees no future in this because of how much he's seen it destroyed him and his sister and everything around him. So it all makes sense, like I said, it's also not completely 100% in my opinion. It's not concrete, and I guess it's an okay thing. I don't need him to kind of stand up suddenly at the very end and say, here's exactly how I feel. But it is frustrating in a sense because I don't have a clear 100%, and I could just be drawing my own conclusions based on his ramblings that could be true or not be true in his mind, because he has been shifting his narrative a little bit, and not having an honest statement does make things a little muddied. But yeah, during the fight though, I'm not gonna forget this. Yes, we had 2 kisses in this episode. Let's be perfectly clear. We did have Ilya perform some CPR with Lainey, and yes, some little bit of blood swapping there. I mean, what better way to transfer it? But that was interesting though, because that was essentially Lainey taking blood upon herself. Even though she didn't have the magicite in her chest, she still had, again, vampire blood throughout her entire body. Her body was still a vampire. So having some sort of blood to be circulating in her system was able to recreate the magicite in her. The interesting thing was, and I'm wondering if this will be something in the future, Lainey felt Algard's pain. She said, how is he still standing? How much pain he's going through? They're linked. And I was curious if this was going to be something that we were going to get into over and over again. Like, because again, Anisfia and Algar were still fighting. And so I thought that every time Anisfia slashed Algard, Lainey over here was going to be in pain. But I don't know, it just seems like it was almost playing it out as if it was a temporary. Like, for a temporary point when her magicite was regrowing, she could sense the other magicite. Because again, it never showed her in pain after that. So I don't know if that'll be a thing going forward or not. But yeah, after everything that concluded, very heartbreaking seeing the king have to basically kick out his son. The mother breaking down was, it hurt. The mother hurt. It's my fault that you're the way that you are. I failed you. I'm a failure as a mother. That was harsh. But yes, like I said, exiling him. One brief handshake. The handshake of the brother and sister once again when they go to leave. And that's when he goes to leave. Yeah, the final scene, like I said, I don't see it as being... It was a nice scene. Like, I did like the fact that the 2 that were the most, at least from what we viewed, the 2 that were kind of impacted the most by what Algard has done, at least came forward to almost show that forgiveness, in a sense. I mean, yes, Lainey made comments about, you hurt me about a lot, it hurt a lot, but I'm still gonna not forgive you, and I'm gonna hate you forever. But you knew that she was fine with it. She's still seeing the kindness that was in Algard. She did see what was still in there. And so it was a nice little kind of send-off for him. Ophelia being able to get a nice little smack in was great as well. But even from her perspective, again, like I said earlier, Ophelia right here blames herself. Everybody blames themselves for what happened, because they were all sort of cogs in this one flow of happening, and they all see that they can improve themselves. And with Ophelia, it's really her seeing that, yes, we were engaged, you were a terrible fiance, but still, she feels like she could have done something. Like, yes, she was technically way back here towards the earlier segments of this master plan executing. She almost feels like she could have done something. Like, I could have done something here, but I didn't. And so she kind of blames herself. And I think that's more because at the current moment, she's tied in with Anisfia so much, and she almost feels like she could have stopped Anisfia from having this pain. I think that's really more where it's at. She wouldn't know what she failed to do unless she failed to do it. I like the fact that she technically apologized to the prince before slapping him. He's like, I've disinherited. It's not like I'm a prince anymore. But yeah, him walking away and saying, take care of my sister. That was, oof, just a lot of heart oofs. I just feel bad for Anisfia at this point, but Yeah, Ophelia goes back to Anisfia, and she said something to the effect that the way that she is now is because of the after effects of using the dragon ability. I don't know. It's sort of one of those things where is Anisfia bedridden because she's so torn about everything that happened with her brother, or is she bedridden because this dragon's power does take its toll on her? I can see both ways. But yeah, in the end, really awesome episode. The only thing that sucks, the one I would say arguably is the sucky thing about this episode, yes, not being able to see Chartos and them get their dues, but we didn't get to see Tilty fight Chartos. That's the only thing that sucks. We didn't get to see Tilty fighting. I was talking to somebody on Discord last night, and I'm like, don't forget we get to see Tilty fight. But it is what it is. Like I said, good episode. Again, it doesn't make me forgive Algard. I think I'm in the same state as somebody like Lainey, where it's like, I don't forgive you, but I feel you. I mean, I feel you, but I don't forgive you. But it makes you really wonder what they're going to do with the last 3 episodes. We only have 3 more episodes, and it's like, we're going to start a new arc now? Like, I hope it doesn't. I'm really hoping these last 3 episodes aren't like a massive rush of some story. I really hope there's a really solid conclusion here. Maybe it's Anisfia waking up, and then there's being some sort of effect in using that dragon's power, and so she's got to fight herself or something. Don't know, but we'll see, because again, it feels like an arc wrap up here. So anyway, that's my thoughts on episode 9 of Magical Revolution. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, make sure to hit that like button down below, comment, let me know what's the episode. If you're a light novel reader, I don't need like clarification on everything. It's just, if you watch the episode and you have thoughts on it, love to hear from you guys. But if you're new to the channel, make sure that subscribe button so you get my content. I do news, reviews, first impressions, top list. If it's anime, it's pretty much here. Additionally, if you like my content and you want to support the channel more, I have a Patreon link, a tips link, super thanks, and a membership button down below. Greatly appreciate it, but it supports the channel, and I'll take care.